Today, we're going to do a high level outline of the whole program of how to get somebody into data analytics and become a data analyst. So, I'm going to break down my thoughts of like how I'm structuring everything and then just work towards what I'm going to be putting into the program and then think through all of this. So, I've been working with AI and my own thoughts, my rough outlines, a bunch of different documents, trying to figure out what is the best way if I were to coach somebody into breaking into data analytics today. So let's jump in, and I have to be quiet because people are sleeping. But here is my thoughts. So, starting up, we need who is this going to be for? And right now, the biggest pain and the easiest people to help currently are the people who already have some technical skills. They already took some of the tutorials online, they already were bootcamp grads, they completed courses, Udemy courses, have the certifications, and then they're applying the jobs, but they're not able to get past into, they can't get interviews, they can't get callbacks, they can't get jobs. So we're going to focus specifically on them now. And then also the thing that I was thinking about is I'll work on some of the courses, but the capstone projects is one of like the biggest thing. A lot of students in looking at their projects, they're not good enough from like a hiring perspective that these people and students could come into a department and then take off running. It looks like their student portfolio projects. So teaching through building portfolio projects is something that I want to reverse engineer as well, where they look good, they have real business impact that healthcare matters, and are niched down enough that they'll matter across the various segments of healthcare. So, and it will also teach some of the missing skills that people will have with using AI on top of this. So, I want to include AI into the whole course because it's one of the fastest ways to learn right now. Instead of having people have to go through like a whole certification, they could just, the goal eventually is through all of the various projects inside the community, they'll be able to learn the skills through just doing, because that's how I learned on the job. I learned more from just doing than actual courses. So let's look at what we're going to be focusing on. Okay, so in my notes is first you need to start with the beginning module or the mid beginning coursework where you have to do things to set expectations. Because the other thing that in designing this, because I've designed multiple courses in the past, I've coached on a lot of programs, I've done a lot of training, is you can have the best and most like optimized work plan, exercise plan, diet plan, but it doesn't matter if there's no compliance. When there's no compliance, there's no results. So you have to be able to factor in how to make it easier for people to get through so they ultimately can get to the outcome, even if it's not the most optimized way of doing it. And like the best example I can give to this is keto. People who go on keto, a high fail rate, but it's one of the best ways of losing weight. But it's one of the hardest ways of losing weight because most people fail at balancing out their diets. So, in the beginning, module one, at least the way that I'm thinking about this, is you have to also have an orientation. This is basically where you set expectations. You also have to give the identity of who they need to become. And then this is where you also establish, let me move this up. This is also where you establish the roadmap of like what the program is and what they'll be doing. So they have the expectations of what needs to happen, because with clarity equals momentum. And also the way I have to design this is making it more bite-sized, more action-packed, because one of the things I found is if lessons are too long and there's no action-oriented steps within it, I found students don't do anything. They just tend to binge everything, and then they don't actually make the progress to get the results that they want. At least a majority of the students, unless you lay it out for them easily. So here, we have to go over some of the basics, like what is a healthcare analyst? What is a healthcare analyst? And then from here, I'm thinking that we have to have the career map, because I want this to be an experience first type of program where I'm going to go into the nitty gritty of how to get the experience, because a lot of programs don't teach that, like how you get client, what temp agencies to reach out, which healthcare clinics, what markets you should look into, health insurance companies, what specific roles, how to do this, how much outreach to do. I'm going to go into all of that in depth. But basically, experience first, they need to find an entry point at a like entry level position and role, and then start automating, start using their technical skills to become valuable, to build up their resume, and then eventually become an analyst and transition into some aspect of healthcare analytics. But most people are going to be targeting the analyst route. So it could be data analyst, healthcare data analyst, healthcare business analyst, and then any of like the specialty departments with analysts in it. So there's a bunch of opportunities for people to break into this part. Next, I have to set expectations on how the accelerator is going to work. So I forgot to talk about, this is going to be for the school community I'm building, which is called the Healthcare Analyst Accelerator. And then to verify the demand of the market, I'm switching all my content to focus specifically on healthcare, because that's what I've been doing, what I have the most experience with, and the most value that I can give. And that is hard for other people to replicate in why people would choose me over other people. So that's why we're focusing on this. So the demand is being validated through the content. But based on all the research I've done, this is a great niche to go into, specifically within the data analyst niche, but to focus on healthcare, because there's a few people doing it, but not in the way that I want to approach it. So here is going to be how the accelerator is going to work, because you have to set expectations of what the commitment level needs to be, the work output, and how they need to show up. And here's the execution system. This was in my notes, but I'm not exactly sure what this is. Because accelerator will have different points of like asking questions. Execution system, I have to dig into this and to figure out what I need to put into here. But basically, what I'm thinking is there's one of the top school programs or school communities that makes $450,000 on teaching AI automation and getting clients, by Nick Sarev. I don't even know if I said his last name correct, but he does everything. He like lays it out for like months at a time, and he's like 30 days, and then does it for like each month that you're in that. He shows you exactly what you need to be doing all of these days. So I'm thinking about doing something similar, but after I complete the high level modules and courses and teaching, so that we can adjust, so that I don't waste time on creating a 30-day program that doesn't work and that we have to redo videos. Because I still want this to be an MVP that people can test And so while I test with all the initial students and members until we get consistent results in the outcome. So we'll see. So this will become later, and then it's just high level steps, but I still need to tell them what they need to do, like what are their action steps. And I think this is what the execution system was. Action steps. Like weekly, daily. Because the clearer you are with the steps that people need to take and they take them, the better it is to get to a goal. The other thing that needs to be inside these programs is AI assisted execution or learning. One of the fastest ways to learn right now, and one of the biggest opportunities that I see that most people are not taking advantage of, is using AI to learn significantly faster. Because most programs are still in the traditional route, and I think this is one of the reasons why the program will stand out compared to everyone else's, is because of this, is teaching people just how to use AI as a skill to learn and execute is probably going to be worth the whole monthly, probably the whole yearly cost in the future on this alone. And then we have to talk about, because it's experience first, what counts as experience. So we'll keep that in there. So this is like preparation. One of the things I think is missing is like a mindset identity thing. So I think what's missing is mindset. Also, there's one exercise I did recently that I think is a really good exercise, which is reverse goal mapping. I think adding this in is important. Reverse goal mapping. And then there's also, based on previous courses I built, having them visualize the end goal to keep their motivation throughout the program, because I've taught really, really hard programs that require a lot of rejection or social pressure from like public speaking. Being able to put up with the pain is one of the biggest things to help students through. So if you can give them the tools to deal with the pain, they are more likely to achieve their outcome. So that's what I need to add for this. So we'll just keep this as the MVP. Right now, we're just creating the MVP, which is minimal viable product, and then testing it out with the founding students to see what works and what doesn't, and then iterate before we actually launch to like a paid membership later. Okay, I think that's good. Let's move on to module 1, because that was like the prep, like operations module. This is experience first. And this is one of like the biggest gaps, and one of the reasons why I see a lot of people not, when I'm looking at people's resumes, their portfolio projects, looking at all of the different things that they're running into of why they can't get jobs, if they just got more experience and then they knew how to market it correctly and then build and craft their resume based on their experience and like what they're doing, it would make it significantly easier. So this is the foundation. And this is also what I did. I couldn't get a job at all in marketing when I first graduated in the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis, and couldn't get any job. So I worked in temp data entry in healthcare, and then worked my way up and eventually became an analyst and then became the data analyst there. And it's because I was able to learn on the ground level, and I know a lot of other people who transitioned in other parts of healthcare into analytics specifically by learning different parts of the business. So this is going to be the foundation of the program. So things I need to cover is exactly what I talked about here, but like in story format, because people remember stories and internalize them better when they're learning and going through a program. So why experience will beat certification. I don't even know anybody in the field that has the healthcare analyst certification, so I don't even think this matters. And that's not to say certain certifications won't be valuable. I think some of the AI certifications will be valuable, but being able to show them inside a project for the certifications in like a really good like AI project will be it out having the certification. But certifications will be like the cherry on top that you could focus on optimizing your resume later, or if you want to like go into a better company. But if you're trying to break into it, looking at things, and even personally having certifications, we need to focus on the experience, because there are too many people who are getting certified who don't have the experience. So experience is what is going to make you stand out. We also have to talk about how to get real healthcare experience and how to do it fast. Healthcare experience fast. And then also how to spot analyst relevant task in any job. I don't think we need that. I think if they are currently working in a non-healthcare role, how to automate things and build up your resume. This might not be needed. I think I'm probably going to cross that out. And then also for here is probably give easy wins, because in the beginning of a program you want to give easy wins, so that it feels more valuable as a course and community. So I'll probably do that in other ways, but probably give beginner micro projects that will help automate their work, or could be things that they can just add to their portfolio now. They're not going to be full-fledged projects, but then it'll at least give them something right away. Oh. And the goal is immediate wins. Primes them for immediate wins. Primes for immediate wins. Yeah. So that's that one. Okay, the next one, this is going to be module 2, is explaining the healthcare entry roles that they can get into an analyst, because there's going to be better departments, lines of business to transition from entry level to an analyst. But as long as you get the experience within the needed industry that you're working for in healthcare niche, that that still counts. So here we got to talk about roles that go to analyst. Oh. And then the path, like explain how the path looks like going to analyst, and also how to pick the best role. How to read job postings, and actually how to find them, like how to find the smaller to medium sized companies within your area that you probably don't even know about because they don't know what they're looking for. And there's also medical offices everywhere. Job postings and find companies. And then how to prepare for interviews. How to prep for interviews, but I think the biggest one here is cold outreach, because nobody's teaching this, or at least in detail. Cold outreach, like who do you reach out to? What do you message? How do you pitch yourself? Especially when you're completely new. Where is... Okay. So we need to add guidance for this. Templates, AI messaging, and like how to find the decision makers. Decision makers. And then all the various ways to make sure that you can get a job right away. And then also, I think something that's important is also roles and experience to get if you work a day job that you can't leave. Work a day job, because there's still going to be roles. You just have to be able to find if you're going to, are you only going to work on the weekends? Are you not able to? Because one of the things I did when I broke into digital marketing and started working with clients and freelancing is while I worked my day job in analytics, at night I was working marketing for clients. And I think that's important because it's overlooked because your day job is paying your bills, but then what you want to do for your future career is you have to build it in your free time. And then also, we need to explain the path. Otherwise, people won't understand why getting an entry level job is important, rather than just going directly to an analyst position, especially with the job market that we have, or at least in any tough job market. Okay, next, let's work on module 3. Okay, module 3 is specifically, oh, the pen is once you get an entry level job, turning any, this is probably most, but we'll just say any for now. Any, and honestly, there's you could probably find ways to automate any entry level job. is going on? Okay. Any healthcare into, there we go, analyst experience. Experience. Okay, that's experience. So here is basically providing them with a framework, for finding automation projects, and then explain these are basically how you craft your resume for analyst roles later. So it's teaching those skills. I think I'll work out the details on another day, but that's basically it. And I have frameworks from previous videos. Okay, so what do we do next? Let's see. Module 4 is going to be a healthcare domain crash course, basically teaching the business side. Crash course. This is teaching US managed care. Just care and healthcare business. Care business. So, yeah, giving all the basics, the things that most places won't teach you, the things that typically healthcare admin majors only learn, and then other things that I know from being in the industry that is important to know. Yeah. Okay, so that's module 4. Module 5. This is going to be the minimal tech stack that they need. It's going to be Excel for sure. SQL, but to be honest, some of the entry-level jobs won't have SQL in healthcare. And Power BI. Tableau is your visualization tool, but also understanding how to do visualizations in Excel. And then Python to help you stand out, but using it with AI assisted to speed up the process. Also teaching legacy tools in Access, because there's going to be definitely companies, clinics where you're not going to be able to install Python. You won't be working in a SQL, and you'll be very limited in the tools that you'll have access to, but you'll be able to have access in Excel, and you can do a lot of things in Access and code in Access to be able to automate and deliver projects just in case you get locked out of more powerful tools. Okay. Now that's module 6. I think module 5. Let me erase this. Module 6, this will be capstone project. Like a real signature capstone. I have to think more on what this will be, but it'll be very in-depth, messy, and I'll probably deal with claims if I had to guess. And it'll teach a lot of the skills that you would need to know. So I think I'm gonna lean into a claims project, a complex claim project. Okay. Module 7 will be project number 2. And then that'll teach some other important part of the business. Could be encounter data, prior auth. Next module is module 8. This will be project 3. Because I think it's important to have 3 good complex projects that represent a good understanding of the business side of healthcare. This will be project 3. And potentially quality measures, domain knowledge. Don't know exactly. But basically all of these all teach the healthcare domain knowledge of being in a healthcare system and understanding insurance. It'll teach how to apply analyst skills, like actual application. Give real experience, because I want to simulate like what real data sets look like. What real data sets look like and how they can be messy. And then it also needs to show your tech skill. It needs to be impressive enough for like a hiring manager to look at it and know that you understand healthcare, but then you also have the technical skills to back it up. And they are great portfolio pieces. And resume bullets. You always have to think about, so they have real business impact. Resume bullets. Like how to, like relevant business impact. And like clean recommendations. Okay, so that's project 3. And then a lot of the other stuff, we'll go through this quick, is stuff that I've talked about in my previous videos with like Epic Launch. This is basically redoing Epic Launch, but specifically for healthcare. So module 9 would be your application assets. So this would be resume. I have to figure out like a interesting acronym later that's easy to remember. LinkedIn, cover letter, and your portfolio, which is going to be, and this is going to be like your website, and now it's going to be your GitHub. Module 10 is interview skills. Then Module 11 is your actual job search. Once you have enough experience, or even while as you're in your entry-level job, just to keep applying. And network and referral strategies. Because one of the easiest ways to get a job proven is through referrals. And then the next module, you need to iterate. So people don't just keep doing the same thing and keep applying in the same way. Iterate on what's not working or what's working or not. This is where we do stuff like hiring manager and recruiter feedback. Because this is one thing that I've noticed with working with people, they don't ask what happened. And it's like one of the easiest ways to get like feedback to improve. And then module 13 is going to be a breakdown of the whole system of like what they need to do. Like let's call it a consistency system or accountability in the group. Consistency system. So this one I have to figure out what exactly I want to do here, and then include how to use AI to automate this process. And ultimately what I want to do is build applications to automate different parts of the job search so it's easier for people in the community to get a job. Applications. And then eventually launch it as a SaaS, software as a service product, or as an upsell within the community or part of the community. We gotta test, especially if it uses AI. There's different limits that we need to place on token generations and calling the different models. But I ultimately want to do this because I love building applications and I do it in my current job. And I just want to know how to launch it, not only as a side hustle, and it'll definitely help the community, but also as a portfolio piece for me going into an AI company in the future. Yeah, so that is the high level overview of everything. We'll dive into some of the specifics later if I run into any issues, but this is what I'm going to go with my initial MVP, and then just not overthink or over productionalize the videos, and then just get out the steps so that people in the program can take it now, and then we can start getting consistent results for people, and then launch it to the public once I know it's a system that works consistently. So that's it. I'm gonna go to sleep, and I'll check you guys out at the next video. Good night.